And we are recording, and I'm here with Nadine Artemis. Thank you for joining us at the Healing Mastery Summit. We really appreciate having you, and thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
So for those listening, Nadine is author of Renegade Beauty, Reveal and Revive Your Natural Radiance in Holistic Dental Care. You've received rave reviews on the product that you have. Also, you've been in the New York Times, the National Post, Hollywood Reporter, and you're described by Alanis Morissette, which is pretty awesome, as a true sense visionary. And you formulated a stunning collection of rare, special botanical compounds. Your healing creations, along with the concept of Renegade Beauty, encourages effortlessness and inspires people to rethink conventional notions of beauty and wellness. So again, thank you for joining us, and I'm excited to speak to you about this topic. And the reason being is I've had some serious health issues that stem from my mouth. And so basically the first question I have, and one of the questions that I think is very important, is where the immune system starts in the mouth, correct? And a big part of our immune system is our microbiome, correct?
Yeah, those are correct. And yeah, the microbiome is so key. And our guts, I think we have all learned as a society in the past decade a lot more about the health of our guts and how it affects other systems. So of course the mouth is a direct link to the alimentary canal, the whole digestive system. And it's connected to the gut's microbiome. And then we can also understand that the mouth also has a unique microbiome. Even though they're inextricably bound, the gut and the mouth, there is something that we want to understand about the mouth. And for whatever reason, I feel like culturally in our Western society, we have grown up to understand somehow that the mouth is not connected to the body. And yet it really, really is. I mean, you know, there's the pathway of direct digestion, there's the bloodstream where it can connect to, and our saliva and swallowing and all that kind of stuff. So it's very much connected, and anything that's sort of a dysbiosis in our mouth is going to reflect in other areas. So much so to the fact that there's many doctors, dentists, and functional medical doctors that believe that anything that's going on in the body, you have to first look at its roots in the mouth, because otherwise you're not getting to the root cause. And there's even a Dr. Eisel's in, I hope I got his name right, Dr. Joseph Eisel, I believe. It's in my book. He's been treating cancer for over 40 years in Europe. And he always asks people to remove any root canals before they can proceed with their treatment. So, and then once, you know, I feel like as a collective with dentistry, obviously some dentists, holistic dentistry, we've been understanding that for a few decades. And then only all the new data that comes in just keeps confirming that. For example, root canals are a huge issue and very common. Or even like we can look at things like wisdom tooth extractions.
Yes.
So, you know, both of these things are pretty common. Maybe you'll have a wisdom tooth extraction before a root canal, because that often is something that can happen, you know, in your early 20s. Yes. And studies show that over, you know, I think it's about 69% of all wisdom teeth removals do not have to be removed. And so there's that, you know, we don't need the tooth. So first of all, there's just that, which changes the structure of the jaw and the occipital ridge and everything like that. And that we might need those teeth later in life, or, you know, or we're not even recognizing that we were born with that kind of a structure. I didn't mean like born as in humans born, not just like our own individual births, but like we need those teeth. There's a reason for that jaw. And so, you know, then we're understanding diet. And eating grains, for example, has like narrowed, you know, the shape of the jaw, and we don't have as much room. So there's that whole issue. But then the other issue with the wisdom tooth removal, you know, unless sometimes it definitely has to be removed. It's growing in sideways, it's infected. There are reasons to remove one, but that's very high when we're at a 69% rate of like nobody needs that removed. Then what happens is it's removed and it's extracted, but the periodontal ligament is left in. And this can also be just for any tooth extraction. but the periodontal ligament is left in. And that is standard. That's what's taught in dentist school. So we can't really blame the dentist. But now we know that leaving that ligament in is sort of akin to leaving the placenta in after giving birth. And so the gum grows over it, and then it creates a jaw rot, technically known as a jaw cavitation. And so, yeah, that will just, you'll go on with your life. You know, maybe you got your wisdom tooth out at 20, and then come 40, 50, you'll have jaw rot that won't even show up on an x-ray until it's 80% rotted. And so that's a new area. Most dentists don't even know about it. A good biological dentist will know. And so we may have these spots in our jaw that are just pulling our whole health down. And we need to get that cleared out. So, it's a simple procedure. And what a dentist will do is they'll first check, there's already a hole there, the tooth's already gone. They'll use their very fine instruments and see if they're sort of sinking, or some have special x-ray. And then they'll, if it's mushy in there, as in your jawbone being mushy, they'll scrape out the decay, allowing a blood clot to form, which will cleanse the area. And then also, hopefully, that dentist is going to inject the site with ozone and also some PRP, which is your own platelet therapy, injected back in for that to heal. And this truly is, to have that cavitation in your mouth is truly going to weigh down your whole autoimmune system. And most people won't even know, why they have recurring headaches or anything like that. Did you have that situation?
I honestly, I think I still have it. I think I haven't fully gotten out of my health issues.
Yeah.
I have it because I can literally feel like things moving in my jaw. I don't know if that makes sense. But
sometimes that could be even a gum, wanting to get the gum stronger, but it could be that as well. And I think an interesting story to highlight this is one of my favorite dentists on the planet is Dr. Stuart Nunnally. And he's done some good tests on root canals, that sort of thing. Anyway, he was as he would say, a holistic dentist, probably through the 80s and 90s, and he was just removing mercury. Yeah. So then he got a lot of mercury toxicity to the point where, he could barely kind of lift his leg over a curb. And now he runs triathletes and stuff, but triathlons. So he was wondering what to do, and he was kind of giving up. And then somebody luckily got him connected to Dr. Hal Huggins, who has really been educating us about mercury since the 60s. He died a few years ago, but we owe a lot of our current knowledge to him. So he said to Dr. Nunnally, okay, I will meet you. He had to meet him in Canada, in Montreal. And so he said, we've got to get the mercury and detox the mercury, but your biggest issue is going to be jaw cavitations. Yeah. That was the first thing that they went to do to clear up his health. Yeah. Was clear those up. So it is very important. And then on a similar, because you have that bacteria then going into your bloodstream all the time, and it's very toxic. So you add to that, which another common thing in a mouth is a root canal. Mm-hmm. And now most biological holistic dentists understand that there is never a time where a root canal is appropriate. So if you're looking for a new dentist, you do want to see and understand their thoughts on root canals. The best dentists will not practice them at all. And that's when you've got a really good dentist. So what happens, so the theory of a root canal was a good one, because you've got a tooth that's no longer working in your mouth. And then the hope was they'll just clean out the pulp chamber and the insides. And then you can, not have that not have that tooth alive, but you still have it in place, and then you wouldn't need an implant, and it's a natural tooth. So we can see why that was happened. But the reality is that a root canal, so the theory was it's sterilized and cleaned out, but it can never be sterilized and cleaned out, because inside each tooth is over 300 meters of microscopic tubules that can never, ever, ever be sterilized. And so what a root canal does, and this was another of Nunnally's tests where they did an independent study, and they took out root canals that were textbook perfect. So they were, they had been done previously, and on x-rays, they were still showing to be perfect. Because sometimes you'll get a root canal and then it still doesn't ever feel good. And the person's like, oh, it's not really working because they didn't really get rid of the infection. So these were totally getting gold stars. They weren't showing up as a problem on an x-ray. They removed those perfect root canals and then had them independently lab tested. And 100% of the root canals showed severe necrotic bacteria. So of course varying, but all of them had it. And strange bacteria too, like leprosy, Lyme, just, you know, things that we don't want in our body. And so when you have a root canal, all day long, you know, chewing and that is squirting the toxins back into the bloodstream. And it creates this perfect environment because no oxygen can get there, no antibiotics can get into that area, and they can just grow and have their own little, you know, pathogenic party.
Yeah.
So root canals are never something that you want. And so if you have a autoimmune issue or a health issue, you definitely want to be looking at any past root canals, and then you want to have them extracted, but then you want to make sure they're going to be extracted properly and you're not going to have that periodontal ligament left in. And I mean, that's hard to hear and I'm sure if anybody's listening and they have root canals, it's probably a bit like, you know, but also, so know that, I mean, if you're feeling perfectly healthy, it's still going to be having that bacteria, but maybe your immune system and your constitution can handle it, you know? And then the other thing, because then it's sort of like, well, then what do you do, right? So you want to get it extracted. If it's one of the back molars, you can just have it removed and then leave that space. You really, truly can. You don't need an implant.
In my case, like, I had a root canal, but like, I have big teeth.
Yes.
My molars were little, and I remember like the tooth was like massive.
Wow.
And that must have gone like deep down in, and I can feel like around here where I had one of them removed is where I have issues, and I constantly feel something like pulsing or throbbing there, like under the jaw.
So you have this space. Do you have the space now? You don't have a tooth there?
Yeah, there's no tooth there.
So if it was it could be a jaw cavitation issue because perhaps they didn't remove the periodontal ligament.
Yeah.
And then if it's a front area, you know, obviously you want to have teeth for smiling and all that. Then really at this stage, the only implant that is safe for the immune system is zirconium. Never ever do titanium. But zirconium is not as popular or well known here in North America, very popular in Europe. And it shows pretty good results for autoimmune. So of course, anytime we're introducing something foreign to the body, you know, there's going to be immune compatibility issues, but there's zirconium seems the cleanest at this stage.
So what's the steps now to figure out if you have a cavitation? Like, do you just go to the dentist and then they can check for it? Because I know that they have thermography. I remember being told that somebody put thermography and then they can see.
So thermography is good because then you can see that, which isn't always necessarily at a dentist office. Right. But yeah, then you can see heat lines that connect to areas, and especially for women, it's good for everybody. But then there's a connection between breast cancer cases. Like I think 99% have a root canal on the same side as the breast that became imbalanced. Wow. That doesn't mean if you have a root canal, you're going to get breast cancer, but it's just showing a correlation there, which is really quite fascinating. You know, so yeah, thermography is good. Well, you really do have to find a dentist that also believes that, you know, cavitations are a thing, because some won't even know it exists. And then or they'll just think, but it's a real thing.
Yeah. Because one of the guys that I work with does the thermography, and then they actually do this thing where they spit the blood to get the stem cells, and then they inject it back into the
that's the PRP. So they'll just take some blood out of your arm, and then they put it in a centrifuge, separate the plasma from the blood. And if you're healthy, it's great, because then it's all good. And then if you're healthy, it's even better. And then any work that you get done, you would you know, if you're even having a root canal removed and you're again going to a really great biological dentist, they'll do it right there in the office, and then you'll have your work done, and then they'll inject all the areas with the PRP, because then that's telling the body to like, oh, bring your own stem cells and your own nutrients back to healing that area. So it's really a revolutionary thing in oral care.
Gotcha. Okay. So that makes sense. So somebody who has a root canal, or even if they have a big molar pulled out and that didn't heal properly, or maybe it has a cavitation, that they should first get their mouth checked. And I've heard this is also in Chinese medicine, correct? It's all linked to organs.
Yeah, I have a tooth chart in my book, and also I'm sure it's in, you just Google like sort of tooth meridians. Right. And it will show like what organs and what pathways go through the teeth and connect with the rest of the body. And if you kind of put your own dental history over that, I think you'll get some more clues.
Yeah. Yeah. So an interesting question I have for you. My wife grew up in the Caribbean, and there was a point where I think she used to eat candy all the time. And she had perfectly beautiful white teeth. And then me, I grew up here in the States, and first off, my whole mouth is filled with malleable fillings. I have gotten them removed. But I had cavities, and my teeth are a little bit more skinny. And so what's the difference there?
My guess is that her lineage, maybe she was maybe more of a first generation to eat more candy. Okay. And then her stock of her ancestors is a little healthier, whereas I feel like, and again, it depends country to country and family to family, but in North America, we're kind of on a third generation. Right. of like, you know, my grandmother had mercury fillings and had antibiotics and ate jam, you know, like all day. So then that's coming down. So we're getting more into the different generations now. So
it plays a role on the genetics.
Yes.
Of the genes.
Which, yes, and also like, you know, bringing in the work of Pottinger and Weston Price is really good to understand a lot of that stuff, and really, and the nutrition that we need. Also the work of Doctors Malembe. There was like a husband and wife team. They really understood that we needed vitamin D, and which being in the Caribbean, your wife's family would have gotten way more vitamin D, because we're also on about the third generation too of like, oh no, don't use any sun, you know, and we're on our, you know, decades of factory farming. Mm-hmm. So when we're eating factory farm foods, then we're not getting foods that are rich in vitamin K2 and D3, because it's like the food is grown in the shadows of factory farming, and the pesticides, like the plants are also growing in the shadows of pesticides, so their photosynthesis isn't happening as much. And we need the K2 and D3, which comes from like grass-fed, you know, eggs where the chickens are outside, and cows that are eating grass and then creating this golden yellow butter. We need that fat so much, because it's those vitamins that then usher the minerals into the bones. Mm. They take that magnesium and the calcium, and they drive it into the bones instead of letting it circulate in the blood serum, which isn't where we need it.
So that's a great question for you, because we're seeing a rise of osteoporosis, and everybody that I deal with, they always come in and say, "Doctor gave me calcium," and I tell them, like, that's not doing anything for you, because you have the highest intake of calcium, right, and highest level of osteoporosis. So this is directly affecting the teeth as well, right? So from my understanding, is it that our blood levels of minerals are low, so it's pulling from the bones and the teeth just to keep it stable?
Yes. Yes.
And so yes, we're seeing the deterioration of our skeletal system.
Yes, and the calcium, obviously the supplement is just mainly, I mean, obviously we're speaking generally here, but it's generally BS, you know, the substance of it and it being absorbed by the body. It's really, and then we've got issues of calcification because it's not going into the bones, or there's, maybe you found a great calcium or you're eating, but then we don't have the D2 and the K3 doing that catalytic action to drive it in.
Gotcha. That makes complete sense. So to speak about, we touched on amalgam fillings, and I think that's an important topic for everybody to discuss, or to listen to, because many people listening right now might actually have amalgam fillings.
Yes.
And what is happening here? What's the potential for living with amalgam fillings for years?
Yes. So that, it's a crazy thing, like this, pure toxic metal being put inches from our brain for even a day is crazy. So yeah, they're amalgam fillings, which are mercury, also known as silver fillings, because I do have people have said, oh, I don't have mercury fillings, I have silver fillings. And that's, if it's silver, it's there. Even gold fillings are a mix of metals. I don't think they have mercury in it, but they've got nickel and different things. And even porcelain has metal in it, and some of that can be nickel as well. And nickel's also very toxic. Braces are nickel. And also, I used to have this, you get your braces removed and then they put in a wire behind your teeth, to make sure it doesn't move. As soon as I understood what that was all about, I had it removed. My teeth haven't shifted since then. So it's important also to keep your teeth in place. It's a mineralization, it's gum health, because the gums are like holding them in place too. But mercury filling, we have the data. We know it's a neurotoxin. We know it can lead to the pathways of things like Alzheimer's and stuff. But the thing is too, on the daily level, on a daily grind, it's not good. And then of course, depending on your constitution, it literally could just be the mercury fillings throwing everything off. So there's so many reasons why it's not good. One is it's a heavy metal, and these heavy metals feed toxins in the body. So then if you've got candida, which we all do, but it can make it get out of control. It can make the natural yeast get out of control. As Dr. Hals Huggins put it, he said, heavy metals are the marriage for microbes. It's like they eat them for breakfast. So all your pathogens in your body love the heavy metals. They love that mercury filling.
And then don't they consume them, and then they excrete an even more
exactly
pernicious neurotoxin.
Yes, and then you've got this kind of gases, the VOCs, just proliferating in the body as well. So it's crazy. And then the other thing is that whether you got your mercury fillings yesterday or 40 years ago, they are emitting mercury vapors 24/7, only to increase by 1,500% the release of mercury vapors when you're having hot foods or chewing. It's really insane. Then the other crazy thing about it all is there's a real protocol there's a protocol in standard dentistry to remove them. And then of course there's really great protocols in biological dentistry where they'll have ventilation and dental dams and, things sucking the vapor out of your mouth. So you want to also don't just go to a normal dentist to remove mercury fillings, and certainly don't go to a dentist that's still putting them in and removing them.
Yeah, I had them all removed at once by a standard dentist.
So did I.
Even though it was bad to do it that way,
yeah,
I actually felt tremendous relief.
Oh, good.
On leaving the place. Like I had this severe pain, like stabbing pain in the back of my head, and it actually gave some relief just getting them drilled out, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And I had a holistic dentist who became holistic because he had 2 heart attacks due to the amount of mercury that he was taking in through the standard practice.
Yes, it's very dangerous. And dentists have a high suicide rate and a high mercury toxicity rate. It's really phenomenal. Then also with mercury fillings, so there is a standard removal, even in a normal dentist's office. It treats it like a hazardous material. Mm-hmm. And it didn't change. When it was removed from your mouth to how they're disposing of it, the alchemy does not change. So, the procedure they're doing to take that metal away from the dental's office is crazy, considering it's allowed in the mouth. Right. We have a beautiful spring-fed lake. It's about 30 acres. And if I threw one of a tooth or two of mercury in there, the lake would be deemed unswimmable by the EPA. But we put it in our mouths, and of course there's going to be constitutions that kind of can rock and roll with them. It may be doing things to them, but they're okay. And then you've got just more sensitive people or different constitutions just creating, it can create, mental health issues. It can or just the gut. If it throws off the gut, and we know the gut is connected to mental health, to depression, anxiety, it can throw off the thyroid big time. So it's like, you know, do you have a thyroid problem, or do you have heavy metals just abundantly in the body?
Yeah, so what's the step? Like, for example, if someone, they have bowel refills, first they want to go to a holistic practitioner that gets them removed correctly so that they're
Yes.
exposing themselves to more heavy metals. Then from there, what's the steps? Like, what do they, like, okay, they've had them for 30, 40 years, let's say, they get them removed. They know now that they're filled with mercury. Where do they go from there?
Well, you can, and then maybe that's when you'd want to work with a functional doctor or something else. So you maybe want to check your levels, which there's hair and urine and debates about which is better. And then, you know, proceed to have a program for that. I know people can learn a lot by, and I have no affiliation, but going to the Quicksilver, Christopher Shade. I don't know if he's a doctor, but he deeply has gone into how to detoxify mercury from the body.
Okay.
So there's that. I mean, iodine is also really essential. It's an essential nutrient, just like magnesium is in the body. Generally, the whole planet is about 70% of the whole population of the planet is depleted in iodine. And iodine helps to chelate heavy metals out of the body, and it's a mineral we need. Yeah. So, you know, perhaps cilantro does it as well, but like we don't need cilantro. Yeah. So iodine's really important, and it will help a lot of other body systems as well. And it also helps to, like, you know, from the work of Dr. Guy Abraham, he understood that after 30 days of iodine, then you start getting rid of like some deeper metals like aluminum, lead. So, and there's great books on it, like Iodine by Dr. David Brownstein and the Iodine Crisis. And those talk about, you know, iodine for detoxing and like maybe going to a higher dose for a while, getting it in the body. So iodine's a really great thing for that. A nascent
fluoride. It helps with fluoride out of the brain, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, so it's a so if you remember your periodic table, iodine is part of the halide family. And it's the other halides that are toxic to the body, especially the thyroid. So bromides, fluorides, chlorine, perchlorates, which is like a jet fuel.
Yeah.
So when our receptors, especially because the thyroid needs it the most, and then for women it's the breasts, but everywhere we literally need it all over our body. So then if the receptors aren't filled with iodine, then they start sort of locking into other things, radiation, bromide, fluoride, you know what I mean? So it gets filled with the things that's the exact opposite of what we need. But then along comes iodine. It's also a halide, and it is the best for getting rid of all the other halides.
Yes. So I don't know. Have you ever heard of Hulda Clark?
Yes.
Yeah, she like that's where I learned a lot about the iodine. Like she would do like iodine enemas and stuff like that. And,
oh yeah.
And, so basically, can you use it topically to get absorbed into the body as well, like without?
Yeah.
Orally?
Yeah. So I would recommend, you know, you have a couple drops in your water too, because it's just good, like just to get it in that way. And then topically, now it's always going to be with a bit of alcohol. So I would suggest just a little bit of like a oil or a serum to go so it's not so stingy on the skin. And I mean, fibrocystic breasts are applied topically, cuts. I mean, it's what we know of too, is that red liquid that was used to heal soldiers' wounds and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So what about children, for example, like my kids? Would that be a good thing to just like put a couple drops in their water?
Yeah, I can't, you know, I never really talk doses because everybody's different, but those books will give doses, or I'm sure there's somewhere on the internet. But yeah, kids need it. It's an essential nutrient. And also if the mother has it in plenty supply, that also helps prevent, you know, mental issues in the birth of their baby. Okay. So it's essential.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we get, you know, we talked about the genetics of the white teeth.
Yes.
But what can we do if we are third generation to get white teeth?
Yeah. So, well, with white teeth, it's because we're so in this culture of the veneer, right? It's just like, Who cares what's going on the inside as long as everything's sparkly on the outside. And that's definitely a good example in the tooth industry, because whiteness actually comes from within, and all the kits and the bleaching wear away the enamel, making it thinner and then causing a yellowing before it's time. So you're kind of in a vicious cycle where you're doing the ultra bleaching whitening, and then you're getting your teeth will become yellow faster because it's not addressing the root of the issue. So whiteness actually comes from within, because the enamel is actually glassy and transparent like a window. And then so it's reflecting the health of the tooth underneath. And then I just think of it as like, you want that inner pulp chamber to be like fat, in that sense of the word, of filled with vitamin D3 and K2 from the nutrients you're eating, from that really good ghee or the butter, or, you know, so we got to get that fat in. The fat and the minerals are going to reflect back for white teeth. Now, also in our worlds, I'm sure we have a lot of people eating really rich pigmented food, like blueberries or spirulina or red wine. And obviously that can be discoloring. But what might be going on is that old, because I also feel like in these sort of healthier worlds too, we're a little bit more afraid of the dentist, or like, we're kind of like, I can tell that's not that holistic, so I'm going to ignore it, you know? So you want to find that good dentist, and then hopefully they'll have a really good hygienist. And then you'll get the old tartar and calculus removed, because sometimes all that's getting discolored is that really old calculus and tartar, not the daily plaque that you still might be successfully removing. So you want to sort of start fresh that way. And most holistic dental places will have a salt rinse, kind of like it's like a salt blasting. You know, like, you know, they would, if you were renovating an old beautiful building, and they'll do that sand blasting to kind of make it come to life. And so you can do that. And it's very gentle with the teeth, and it gets really white, and then you kind of have that fresh start. And then, you know, we have 8 steps that people can follow, 8 oral care steps that will help bring people's mouths up to as healthy as they can be. And also know that, like, you know, because I've said a lot of things that I'm sure are making people kind of cringe with their mouths. So I'm like, oh my God. But really, the health of your mouth can evolve. You know, gum tissue can get strong again. It can be get resilient. You can help regain the alkalinity and the mineral rich of saliva, which helps to heal the teeth. And you can really take care of the mouse microbiome and evolve your mouth, and even get it to a better place before you see a dentist, so that your appointment might be shorter and less expensive. But our teeth are alive. And I think that's what I missed, that understanding when I was growing up. And I think a lot of people did too, because the dentist didn't think it was alive. But your teeth are alive. They're connected to the body. You know, your mouth's alive, the saliva is working, and all of that you can reharmonize to get health back in your mouth.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have this weird hack that I like fell upon. I mean, I guess I didn't really qualify. I just used kind of common sense with my knowledge, and I wanted to see what you thought about it. You know that people do oil pulling?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
It's great. It's a really great thing. I have seen whiteness really transform for people. And it's a really good thing, because it's really taking care of the mouth microbiome. We make oil swishing serums for that. I also have an article on the site that goes through it, and then helps you, like, sort of what other things you can do to upgrade your oil pulling experience, and also a recipe for these tooth butter cups, which you can use. You can either put them in those things, you know, when you get a fluoride treatment, and there's those, you can either do that and then kind of make your own teeth mask, or you can make these little like almost like a sugar cube shape thing, pop them in a jar, and then you can have just like these little cubes you can pop in your mouth for oil pulling. So I have recipes for that as well.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check that out, because what I would do is I'd do oil pulling for 10 to 15 minutes, then spit it out, you know, outside somewhere. And then I'd have a thing of bentonite clay in water prepared. And then I'd switch that around after. Pull and like pull everything out, and then just like it was just amazing. Like I figured, well, if there's always bacteria and that oil pulling can pull that, and that clay is going to just enhance it. And it took it to the next level. Like I had to have plaque just start falling off.
Amazing.
Start to whiten, and my mouth would feel super clean. So
That's great.
yeah, it was something simple that I just did, and it started to help the health of my mouth. When I was going through sickness, I would have like plaque, just I think it was mucus, just like literally like coming out of my mouth.
That's so good to get out. You can also add to your bentonite clay, you could add a little charcoal.
Okay.
Activated charcoal. Yeah.
And then just take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, all right. So, mouth health. If their mouth microbiome is off, you're essentially going to be swallowing that nasty bacteria, and that's going to go into your gut. So you're going to have a hard time healing, right?
Well, yeah. So then, oil pulling is great. The clay is a great idea for that as well. And tongue scraping, that's part of our 8 steps as well. Just like clearing that up. And then, yeah, you're going to want to also, just like you want to heal a leaky gut, you want to heal leaky mouth. And because that's, to me, is like bleeding gums, cavities. It's all signs of like permeability that's going the wrong way. It's like we want to, I have other 3 steps. So I have the 8 steps for oral care, but then sort of 3 general steps people can think about, which is stop, seal, and seed. Okay. So with stopping, you want to, ditch the alcohol mouthwash, the triclosan toothpaste, even the natural toothpaste with glycerin, which are putting a barrier on your teeth and not allowing the saliva to do its job. And not eating like things that will create leaky guts, like, corn and GMO and gluten. All of that's got to go. And then sealing is about sealing and healing the gums and the mouth. So if you floss and you're bleeding, you want to seal that up. We make beautiful dental serums that you can use for brushing and even oil pulling. And then you can put a drop along your floss with that beautiful that drop that has so much botanical plant information. It's getting up in between the teeth. Normally when people do that and they've had bleeding gums, that will turn around for them in 24 hours. Some people it will take a bit longer if their gums are really spongy. So you want to seal and heal the gums. The gums are like kind of turtlenecks around the teeth. You hope you don't want to get to that part where they're receding and becoming like a cowl neck or a V-neck, because that part, if the gums start pulling back from the tooth, that's where the enamel's different. And then you're going to get those gum line cavities. So you want to seal and heal. That's where you're doing oil pulling. And then seeding is about reseeding the guts and the mouth. Okay. So all the drugstore oral care stuff is literally mutating the mouth's microbiome, along with some of our dental procedures like a root canal or that kind of stuff. So that's disrupting the mouth. And then you're through sealing, you're tightening that up, and then seeding. So you want to treat the body like it's kind of like a bacterial bank account, and you want to have really diverse investments in there. So you want to be eating fermented foods, replenishing the gut with prebiotics and probiotics. You can be swishing those in the mouth. You can take your oil pulling, you can pop open a probiotic into that oil pulling, do your oil pulling with that probiotic. And then we also have these dental syringes that are blunt tipped, so it's not sharp, and you can use them over and over again. And then you can get take some liquid that could be some dental serum, some water, a pinch of baking soda, a little bit of a probiotic capsule, and then you can get that all up in between the gum line. That's even what some dentists are doing now after cleaning the teeth, but you can just do it at home. So we want to reseed.
This is like amazing. Where can we buy this all on your website?
Yes, we do have, we've even got our own probiotics that we created that are grown on inulin. We have the dental syringes, we have the steps. I even have an article on reseeding the mouth. It's in our article section. Yeah, because I know it's like a lot of new information for people.
No, this is great. It's like, this is something I focus on. It sounds like you're like a cutting edge of all of this. Like, because I've heard some of these things, but so if if someone has a cavitation, like, have you ever heard, I mean, you spoke about it before, but like, I've had ozone done at the dentist as well. But other places, they can do like injectable ozone therapy.
Yes.
If you,
Yes.
like injected that into the jawline, would that be helpful?
That is helpful. We make an ozonated gum gel, which you can rub on places and squirt it in, or even after you've had dental anything, you could just squirt it right in there. So it's really good. But in those circumstances, I mean, hopefully your great new dentist that you found will do an injection right into that area. And for some, the cavitations need to kind of still be monitored because for whatever reason, that's not enough and they may need more injections. You'll be able to tell with that, but it might need further attendance, which is why, again, it's very important for all of us to have a really good dentist, because a lot of if we're older, like not a kid, we're really needing to undo our past dental visits where they made wrong decisions, where it was incorrect. And so a lot of us have to kind of do this revisionist dentistry, which you just want such a skilled, compassionate, pioneering human being to take us like out of that previous dental history. And, saying that too, I have written an article too on like what to ask. So you're calling that new dentist, things that you can ask to really make sure you've gone to the right dentist, because even some holistic dentists, I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't, you're still sending me out with the bottle of Crest toothpaste. They haven't thought it through all the way.
Right. They haven't made that full transition. So
Yeah.
just to speak about, we got about, I think, oh yeah, we got some time. So amalgam fillings, like, have you done the research as to where this began, how this started, like why this is happening? Because when I look into it deeper, it seems like it was maybe even done with purpose, or like they knew what they were doing, or like how did dentists, like my dad has his whole mouth full, and I told him to get it removed, and he spoke to the dentist that put mine in and his in, and the guy said, "Oh, those are fine, those are totally fine." Like, how does somebody not know at this day and age what that's doing? And then how did we get to a point where dentists were putting this in when we knew? I mean, there's cases of thousands of years ago they know what Mercury is doing to the body.
Yeah, those are great questions. I did write a bit about its history in my book, Holistic Dentistry. And I mean, it is still bizarre that we even did it. It happened. It was in the 1800s. And even though the Mad Hatters, which were literally people that made hats that went crazy because they put mercury in the rim of the hat, which I still don't even get why, but they all went crazy.
I'm here right now. I'm in Mad Hatter, Danbury, Connecticut.
Oh, wow. That's
where I am.
That's hilarious. So how we got from there to like, oh, let's put it in the mouth. Apparently, like it's, and some dentists prefer it to this day for children because it's like faster and quicker to put on for squirmy children, which is just horrific. Yeah. It's banned in places. It's banned for pregnant women. It's banned in literally some countries. So yeah, how a modern day dentist, I can understand if they did it in the 80s and 90s even, but like right now, no dentist should have mercury. Yeah. It's like, and the research is just so abundant. Right. Like it's not even question. It's got to go. But old habits die hard, and obviously somebody has a stake in the game.
Yeah. Now, what about these fillings that have like the PCBs? I've heard that just getting some of those removed that helps women get pregnant. Like they have them, they remove them, and then they do a little detoxing, and then all of a sudden they have an easier time getting pregnant.
Yeah, did you say the plastic, the the BPA?
Oh yeah, the BPAs. Yeah.
Or what did you mention?
So the one of the dentists I went to said he would have women coming in who are having a hard time getting pregnant. They would have these fillings in that I think have the BPAs. I think the BPAs, he said, and then they would get them removed, and then they would get pregnant.
Yes.
Directly correlated with affecting their reproductive organs.
So in fact, as if there's gum disease or just, which is apparently 98% of people have it. So just your classic periodontal disease, which you may not know you have it in a way, like, cause it's not going to be really obvious, but you know, a little bit puffy gums, maybe bleeding, that kind of thing, that will literally affect fertility as well. And I write about that in my book, Renegade Beauty. And so much to the fact, like either can, impact fertility or it can actually lead to premature births.
Wow.
So, you know, it's so connected.
Yeah.
And that's again where you want to be going to that right dentist, where they're only, now again, we're still got to put something foreign into the body, but where they already know what is the cleanest of all the options. Some even do blood serum biocompatibility tests to see, especially if you've got a really sensitive body and a lot of autoimmune situation going on, they will then test what's biocompatible for you. And that's really where we need to be going, because, you know, one false move at a dentist can lead to some unknown side effects that can plague somebody for years.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're about the end of the hour here. And so I wanted to just close because we learned a lot. There's a lot of information. And this, I'm hoping the people that are listening to this are taking on, because this is something I've studied for a long time, and you obviously have extensive knowledge, and this will help a lot of people listening to that. One, health almost starts in the mouth. You can have an argument that health really starts in the mouth. Correct? Yeah. Keeping the mouth clean is extremely important. Keeping the chemicals and toxins out of your mouth is extremely important. And then vitamin K, vitamin D, and then getting good fats are essential for a good, healthy mouth microbiome. Correct?
Yep.
Is there anything else that we're kind of missing that we went over? If you have amalgams, get them removed safely.
Yeah, you know, yeah. And really, like, you know, you really do want to go one of those dentists that can really, really guide you in the right way. And there's also conscious sedation available now, which a lot of dentists use, which keeps you where they can do a lot of work in an afternoon, for example. You're still able to like get up and go pee as the patient, for example, but you're not feeling any pain, because some of the work, like sometimes you'll go to dentists and they'll have a slow plan for the removal of that mercury, because they also have to do it in the right way because of the negative and positive charges with the metal. And but it also still going to have a toll on your body. So there's also some wisdom to just really getting it done in a short amount of time, depending on your health, so that you can really get that fresh start. And so that's really why you need that really awesome and they are out there, you know. And then we also have we list organizations and also those questions that you can ask to start your journey.
Awesome. And is there any last thing you'd say to the listeners that maybe just you give them inspiration to get moving? Because what happens is people listen to this and they're like, oh, that's great information, and then they don't do anything. And so
yeah, and then a lot of the things I'm saying are sort of big next steps, like finding a dentist and then doing that, but you can do a lot at home by literally stopping those things that I've mentioned. Which I think is in an article on our website as well. It's definitely in our book. So I've got Renegade Beauty, which is a lot, the whole body, but there's a very hearty dental chapter in there. And then I also have my book, Holistic Dental Care. So you can find the answers there. But I would just say stop. And if you've got that regular drugstore stuff that you're taking care of your teeth, stop right now, pick up some baking soda. You can I make all kinds of beautiful products for the mouth, toothpaste, gels, everything. But you can literally just start with baking soda and continue with that for the rest of your life. It's cheap, it's cheerful, it alkalinizes the mouth, it helps to keep things white. It's a good scrubber, it's very gentle, it's gentler than all toothpaste, even though sometimes people are like, oh no, it's too rough. So just start with that and get some probiotics going, and that's a really good first place to start.
Awesome. Yeah, my grandfather, who lived to 97, swore that he never had a cavity because all he was baking soda.
I believe him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it can be that easy.
So they can get a home, like what's the best way to get in contact with you? Do you work with people like individually and one-on-one? Like how do you work with people?
Yeah, I actually don't do private one-on-ones. However, our team is so they're educated by me, and if there's any questions, they always have me as a resource. But anybody can email us at any time through the site or through sage@livinglibations.com. We'll answer any questions or send you in the right direction. We also have half-hour free consultations. So I don't do any, but our team does free ones. You can ask any beauty, dental, or health question. We're so there to help you understand it and get it right. And then we have a wonderful resource of articles on our site, which is livinglibations.com. And my books have a lot of answers too.
Awesome. So, yep, that's at livinglibations.com on Instagram or Facebook. And then your website was, what was the website address?
It's livinglibations.com too. Yeah.
Well,
Keep it easy.
so, any last words before we sign off here, Nadine?
It's a lot of information, but just know that your mouth and your teeth are alive, and wherever you're currently at, it will improve.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. This has really been awesome. This is something I love to learn about. So thank you for joining us, the Healing Master Summit, Nadine, and
Thank you. Thank you, you too.